Herbs are gross, right?
Yeah.
And they are. And guess what? They also have a subtle aspect to them, just like us. This is our gross body. This is, what some people call the meat suit. And yet, dwelling within this somewhere is the spirit, right? That elan vital, vital force that animates this. That when that goes out, this thing is just meat, right? And it just rots. Same with plants. Plants have a physical aspect. Ours is mostly fat and protein. Theirs is mostly fiber and is mostly just fiber, actually. Ours is water and theirs is water too. But so we relate mostly to each other, actually, in kind of a physical sense. We don't always interact with each other as, acknowledging the spirit of the other being. More it's like, oh, hello, and you give a hug or a shake or something like that. It's like, there's Johnny. But same with the plants. We relate to the plants generally as with their physical, we like eat them or smell them or whatever, enjoy their beauty. But one of my assignments in herb school in 1984 with Rosemary Gladstar was to actually sit down with a plant and, to the extent we were able, communicate with it, connect with it in a deeper than just physical way. Communicate with the spirit of the plant. And all living things have a spirit. In fact, that so-called spirit, E equals mc squared. That was Albert Einstein. Energy and mass are interconvertible, right? A relationship between energy and mass. And of course, energy is the energizing force, the elan vital, the life force that flows through everything. And everything is actually made of and from that. It says in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And of this, all things were made. So that's sort of the biblical explanation. Physics, what we say is energy. Energy cannot be created and cannot be destroyed. It always was, is, and always will be. And guess what? Of all of this, all things are made. Same thing said in a couple of different ways. And so I sat down with this plant. It was actually a plant. It was a chamomile that I was talking about last week, our local San Diego chamomile, the pineapple weed, Matricaria matricarioides, that grew all over the hillsides in Santee, where I lived a long time ago. And I would ride my motorcycle up around the hills there. And it was just covered with all these, in the springtime, with all these plants with yellow flowers. I have no idea what they were. If I'd have just, got off my bike and tasted them, when I could have identified it as chamomile, but it didn't look like the traditional chamomile that I knew. But this was also, these plants were also growing out of the driveway, out of the rocks in the driveway where we lived up in Northern California, where I was going to herb school. And so I thought I would get to know that one a little bit if I could. And I sat down with it and I cleared my mind. And that was 1984. In 1971, I met a guy, well, he was 14 at the time, a kid, who became my spiritual teacher. And he taught me how to do this meditation. He doesn't call it that. This practice where you turn off the internal dialogue, the chatter, blah, 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 blah. There's actually a way to find the ON-OFF switch and get it in the OFF position. No, my screen's not frozen. I was just demonstrating, what we call a zero mind situation. And so I know how to do that. I practiced that for a couple hours this afternoon, actually. just because I wanted to kind of chill. And I sat down with the plant and I quieted the mind because, I'm trying to communicate with a plant spirit. It's like Horton hears the Who. I don't know if you have kids, you probably know that story, right? Whoville. Right? We are here, we are here, we are here. And Horton was able to hear that because he had these freaking big ears, right? But guess what? If Horton would have been engaged in his internal dialogue, blah, 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 even with the big ears, that little, faint message probably wouldn't have gotten through to him. And so that's what I had to do as well. Turn off the noise and just be there with this plant and ultimately with this plant spirit. And I wasn't stoned. I wasn't tripping. I was just in a normal, if there is such a thing, frame of mind. And sure enough, this plant spirit communicated with me and I with it. It was really cool, and it surprised the heck out of me that I could actually communicate with a plant. It was surprising, and it was cool, and I connected with it. Actually, if you go on my website, selfhealschool.com, I actually wrote an article about my experience with this plant spirit that became my friend, my ally. That's a concept in kind of traditional herbal ally, that a plant spirit can be your friend, can be your ally, and can assist you in some ways. Point is, plants have been here about 1,000 times longer on this world than we have. So they're, more evolved here, actually. I know man in his egocentrism feels himself as the crown of creation. As far as I can see, we're more of a crown of thorns because we're messing up the world for all life on the planet. But the plants are cool, and they're here to help us. They really are, not just in a physical with all their great medicinal compounds, but also energetically. We were talking about the fennel and the mugwort last week being protector plants. But the plants can not just protect us, but they can guide us and they can help us in so many ways. Flower essences and homeopathy, vibrational medicine, besides the herbal medicine with the physical compounds. So a lot of how herbs actually heal us, if you will, deal with our dis-ease, is by helping to reconnect us. Because we are not real well grounded and connected in this world and to this earth. One of my students gave me a book called Earthing, right? And it's about, standing barefoot on the earth and connecting. And we do this in Jane's Healing with Energy classes, connect with the earth energy. And because we're not really so connected in that way, we identify more with our physical being, like I had said before. And the problem with that is, if we identify with a meat suit, we also understand the meat suit's going to rot someday. and we're going to die, at the end of the ride. That's the end of the ride for everybody. And people are fearful of death, largely, I think, because they don't know where they're going after death. It's fear of the unknown. And, if you're in the kind of, religious space where you think if you've sinned, you're going to go to hell and burn forever, I can understand that trepidation. So I've actually had my partner Jane and I studied at a psychic institute, and we learned how to, hone our psychic abilities. And several of our good friends have passed into the beyond and have gotten back to us and have relayed to us that it's like waking up from a dream. It's actually, the music's great here. It's really great. Wish you were here. And so that's great. I have no more fear of death, but people kind of do, and because they're relating to the meat suit. But if the plants can connect you more to the earth, and when I started connecting with plant spirits, I was and befriending them, it made me more open to and able to connect with people spirits. That was a big transformation for me, and it really healed me in many ways, which is great. So herbs are gross, manifestations of subtle healing energies. So part of how they heal us is by putting us back in touch with the earth and the earth spirit, in our own spirit, right? Which will not die, right? That part of us which was, is, and will be, right? Energy cannot be destroyed, and that's our life force. And I have it on good authority that is absolutely not only true in physics, but in the universe as well, in the multiverses.